Renars podcast.
So, Culture Vulture started when?
Culture Vulture started sometime back in 2016, 15, 16. So it was just me and a couple buddies who wanted to create our create a little group where we could express ourselves.
Okay.
And, with comic skits, comedy skits or like music as well. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit all over the place. And it's absolutely nothing what it looks like today.
Yeah.
So how did it go from comedy skits and music videos to video essays about books and TV and nerdy Game of Thrones stuff, right? Well, we just kind of threw stuff at the wall and nothing worked.
Mm-hmm. Nothing stuck to it.
Nothing really stuck. Yeah, nobody watched the stuff we put out, and we put so much effort into it.
What kind of stuff did you guys put?
I think the best example is the music video we made. So it's a country song, actually. It's a comedy country song. And we went out to a farm, we got trucks in and everything and hired actors and shit. And yeah, we made so much effort to make it look as pretty as we could. No budget. And I was really proud of it. And I had so much fun making it. And
so what was the idea? Was just to create a music video?
Yeah, that time. That was a project. But yeah, so the channel didn't really have any direction.
Right.
Other than satire and maybe comedy and commentary of some sort.
Right.
And yeah, and so that was, I'm really proud of that. It's a pretty good music video. However, nobody watched it. And so we kept trying different things. But one day, Game of Thrones ended and everyone was disappointed. And
that's what happened.
That's how it sounded like. Yeah, when the final episode was over, that was the outro credits. Yeah, so it was a huge sort of thing on the internet, and I remember feeling particularly frustrated because I had invested so much in this TV show, like so many other people had. And so one day I was actually just laying there in my bed, and I was staring into the ceiling, and I was like, God damn it, Game of Thrones, why'd you have to do me like that? And then an idea came to me, just like that. And I thought, maybe I should compile a list of all the grievances that people have about the final season of Game of Thrones and just like make a video out of that and just like highlight all the narrative plot holes that happened and all the contradictory like developments and character arcs and things like that. It's so frustrating, right? When a character just like changes in an unnatural way or things, they just kind of forget what happened earlier in the show. And there was so much of that in Game of Thrones. And so I did that. I set to work and I was working like, I was kind of obsessed, working for 12, 15 hours a day, just writing and researching and gathering this compiling this huge list of things that went wrong in freaking Game of Thrones. And then I set to editing and I did the voiceover and it sucked. And I did the voiceover again and it also sucked. And I just kept going until I had something that, looking back, I'm not like super proud of this performance, but it was okay.
Yeah.
And so, I published this video and 3 weeks later, it had many more views than any of my previous stuff had. And I was very, very proud of my 12,000 views.
Right. Yeah, you should be.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't so bad.
12,000 views.
Yeah. And then one morning, I woke up and I just checked the stats on my YouTube app on the phone. And it kind of looked like maybe there was a decimal wrong or something because it said 125,000 views. And I was like, what?
And this is much longer since it was 10,000 views?
That was like overnight.
Just overnight?
Yeah, literally overnight. And so I see this chart of the views and it's just like an absolute spike. And I was like, whoa, okay, what's going on here? And then that spike kept going up and going up. And eventually, I got enough subscribers and I got enough watch time to become a YouTube partner on that video alone. And so I was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing now. I'm going to write nerdy video essays about pop culture. But that's how Culture Vulture really
the feeling, I guess, when you I've finally done something right, almost like I kind of struck gold.
Yeah.
I think it's also like what you were telling me. It represents that famous picture where two guys are digging for the diamonds and one of them turns around just before like he almost got them, and the other one just fucking continued digging.
Right, yeah.
So and you, they're representing the one who just continued digging. Because like if you look back to things what you already done and you were like, I'm proud of this video, why people don't like this video, right? And then you kind of just find this and think what you're nerdy about and you're like really love and enjoy, and then now other people can appreciate it. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And I think throughout this creative process, like you come across people with their own ideas and you get inspired by them, and you realize that you are actually inspiring other people in ways you maybe didn't even think about. And that is very rewarding too.
Yeah, 100%. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So then you did that first video, got that crazy spike, and how long was before you got the second video? And what was like, well, what am I going to do in the second video now? Like, what was like, when do you start kind of struggling for ideas? Like, oh shit, like this was great. Am I going to be able to repeat it or close to it or?
Yeah, so there was another sort of while of not really achieving any success. So that video kind of carried the whole channel for a long time. And but I kept trying doing video essays about pop culture. But I guess I'd really hit the nail on the head with the disappointment in Game of Thrones, right? Because everybody felt that way, with a very small minority who felt that it was fine. But then when I started expressing like edgy opinions about shows that people like, generally speaking, when I found flaws in Stranger Things or something like that, people were like, bro, like, but we like Stranger Things though. So they don't want to see the flaws in the things they like or they feel positive towards. So, so that was another realization that I had to sort of wrestle with, and I'm still wrestling with that because I want to, approach my commentary with the same kind of attitude and like authenticity that I approached the first successful one with. And so, sometimes I'll talk about something like The Last of Us, horrible TV show. Like objectively fucking speaking, horrible show. But people like that show because it's got Pedro Pascal in it, right? And so...
yeah, he's hot. I met him.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a great guy.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Yeah.
There you go. Unfortunately, that show has almost nothing to offer. Like when you really kind of dissect it and analyze it. Same goes for a show like House of the Dragon, which is the Game of Thrones spin-off series. Has absolutely nothing to offer. And it's just very hollow, And so somehow people still like that show. And I'm like, wait. All of you were disappointed in Game of Thrones. And now you're fans of House of the Dragon, which is like the worst of Game of Thrones, but even worse. It's like,
that's very interesting because I think with the Game of Thrones, like I haven't watched the whole thing. I watched some bits and pieces. Probably not the best guy to comment about it, but like what I understand, like the season 7 was disappointment, right? So that was like the kind of the biggest. Oh, what the fuck happened in season 7, right?
Yeah, something like that. So
because I think they just loved it so much till season 7, and the build up was crazy. Oh, season 7 is going to be the last season. Did they announce that it's going to be last season?
I think after season 6, they announced that there were going to be 2 more seasons. And so they did 8 seasons in total. A lot of people found the show to be really disappointing after season 7 because that was a steep decline in quality for sure. Right. But then, there's always next season, right? They can save this. And they didn't. And then everyone was just like, okay, this sucks.
Oh, that's funny. And it's... Yeah, the some of the videos I watched, I like your commentary about like, what is these writers like? What is going on with these guys? I'm just wondering how many, if there's actually some of those writers saw this or this would reach them. They're like, oh, you know what? Like this, some people says the truth, and there's lack of logic, and I like how you say like you said this in the previous season, and this is the truth, and now you say this. So how does it make any sense? And like I kind of, and it's so many times I see that in movies. It's like why you run away from this killer, or why you can't just. My biggest disappointment sometimes is like when there's a bad guy and a good guy kind of beats up the bad guy, and just finish him.
Right. Yeah. That's a pretty common one.
I mean, like, seriously, I sit there, like, just finish him. You don't even have to kill him. Just maybe tie his hands or something, you know? And then you're like, oh, he's back and he's now killing you again. Like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah. It's almost like when they're standing over someone and they're going to deliver the final blow and then somebody distracts them. They're like, what? And then they get taken out. Yeah.
Some of that, yeah. But yeah, so out of all the videos you've done with the Culture Vulture, so predominantly it's about the Game of Thrones, or what is the, how many Game of Thrones actually videos you've done?
So yeah, my audience has kind of become predominantly Game of Thrones oriented. And so I'm kind of pushed into a niche on YouTube where I'm kind of rewarded for Game of Thrones content, but not at all for other content. It's a bit of a shame. I'm trying to dig myself out of this hole, but I'm also like, I also do enjoy it a lot. So, and I keep finding new ways to talk about like the world of Game of Thrones or the books, or comparing the Game of Thrones series to the books and stuff like that. So yeah, just finding new ways to talk about the same thing kind of, but also adding new value to everyone.
Yeah, because it's interesting right now, like from your creative perspective, like I want to move on, do something else. It's interesting, like when actors get pigeonholed in doing certain things, you know.
That's how I feel.
Great example is like Friends, right? After they've done 10 years of sitcom Friends, is it considered a sitcom? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
comedy show sitcom, and next thing you know, like everyone just knows them because of the Ross, because of the Joey, and because of all that.
Kind of shoehorned into the rom-com.
Yeah. So have you thought about what are the good strategies to get out of that kind of like a niche, or like being, you know, just like that's who you are?
Yeah. So recently I tried to make like other kinds of content that is still very much like surrounding Game of Thrones, but I'm also like tying in, or I'm almost making the central theme of the video something that is universal, but I'm applying Game of Thrones as a really good example of this phenomenon or whatever I'm talking about. So I recently did 2 videos. One was on the rise and fall of female empowerment in Game of Thrones. And so I'm looking at this theme of female empowerment, how you can actually make like good female empowerment in like a medieval story. And then I'm using like the character arcs in Game of Thrones as an example there. Okay, so that sounds very, I mean, that is pretty specific to Game of Thrones because I have to look at those specific character arcs and whatever. But then I did a video on realism in storytelling. Well, that was the working title anyway. And then I realized, but nobody's gonna watch it if it doesn't have Game of Thrones in the title. So I did the rise and fall of realism in Game of Thrones. And so what I'm doing is essentially I'm discussing why realism in storytelling is important. And then I'm almost solely using Game of Thrones as an example of how they did it so well and how they stopped doing it so well.
When you say realism, can you talk about that more? Like, what do you mean by realism?
Right. So that's a really good question. And a lot of people don't really know the difference between realism and real world accuracy. It's not exactly the same thing. So it's not really about documenting reality, because we're watching TV and film and stuff to kind of see something else. But it still all has to be, you know, coherent and consistent. And so if I say that, oh yeah, it's totally realistic that they have dragons in Game of Thrones, or that they have spaceships in Dune or something like that. Like, yeah, if that is established as a feature of this world, then that's realistic. That's something they have, right? However, if they also establish that it takes, you know, it's human beings exist in this world and they don't have superpowers, they don't run or walk any faster than we do, there's just humans and also dragons, then okay, but so dragons, okay, but the humans are still the same. So when people teleport between locations, I would call that out and say that's unrealistic, because you have established dragons, so if you fly on it, that's fine.
Unrealistic according to the rules what you set in the very beginning.
Yeah, so it's like, it's really all about internal consistency.
And it's you're a huge fan of board games, like D&D and stuff, and like, and we played board games a couple of weeks ago, and there is a point where like, okay guys, these are the rules, and you have to stick to the fucking rules.
Yeah,
you know, and that is annoying when if you see in a show what you really enjoy, like where did the logic go? And I could notice that for you, I don't know, is it because of your Swedish roots, and people are very logical in Sweden. I'm not sure about that. I know that Latvians are. We are like very kind of, also the Northern Europe, whatever. But it's for me, it was always about like there has to be some logic. Like if there's a lack of logic, what are we doing here?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like a sticklers to rules in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that integrity. It's about integrity, right? Like, if you win a game and you're cheating, then it's like, is it really winning?
Yeah.
Like, is that really the same? Is it as impressive as if you won when playing according to the rules, right?
Exactly.
So it's just worth more to play by the rules.
And here, I think like one of my biggest questions would be here, like, why do you think that the writers or like the whole production or whatever, like, why they do break these rules, why they don't follow the logic, what are the like kind of the reasoning for it? It's like then they look for the further development of the story. Then they're like, well, if we stick to the rules that we created before, it's not going to make much sense, or we can't, so we need to kind of cheat. And do you think that they actually kind of what's the word? They purposely like, okay, well, I know that, this dragon can't do this and this, but like next one, we have to show that he can do this and this. How do you think, what is the kind of a thought process behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's in any like big production, like a HBO TV series or something like that, or you've worked on those things, right? So that there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, and at
too many,
right? Okay, and so that's kind of one big reason why I think that logical inconsistencies happen a lot, and that's a shame. I mean, I don't really think that that's a good enough excuse, because these are world-class productions. If somebody makes a backyard short film or something like that, I'm not gonna, be able to like, look at that, you missed a thing, or like there's slight inconsistency, whatever. But like if we're talking world-class productions with people getting paid a lot of money to make sure that shit is consistent, and it's not, then I just like, what's your like?
Yeah, but do you think that they like it's it's not worth it, or something like the loss is not going to be big enough, or like we're going to be fine still, people are going to love it and they're going to watch it, and it's like it would be crazy. There would be some kind of like a court of film industry where they're like, oh, but you changed this character in prison.
I would love that. I would love that so much.
You would be
storytelling court. I would be.
You would be one of the barristers with a fucking wig there, sitting there like, oh, how dare you?
No, honestly, yeah. I mean, I'll get back to your question, but that's a great idea. And I think a lot of, I'm in a bit of an echo chamber, because my fans on YouTube, they will comment things like that. Like, oh, the people who made Game of Thrones, they should never be allowed to make a TV series ever again. And I'm like, well, I'm not entirely against that, because, they had it in their hands and then just threw it away. But yeah, another reason I think why they sort of make these mistakes or neglect even, and it's a lot of people involved, but also it's really hard to keep track of a scopy story, And Game of Thrones is like probably like in recent times is like the scopiest story arguably of all.
Yeah.
Again, that's not an excuse, because they have all the resources available to them to not screw it up, honestly.
What do you mean scopious? Sorry.
So yeah, like the scope is really big. There's so many characters and there's so many things going on.
Too much going on.
Yeah, and then you have to tie all that up into some kind of satisfying conclusion. Right?
And they can probably wouldn't be able to imagine there's going to be some nerd from Sweden who's going to go through this all shit. What was this? You're like IRS.
Yeah.
the movie IRS.
Yeah. No, there should be institutions for this. And the more I think about it, the more I'm with it. Yeah.
You should maybe do a little video where you actually, it's a court room and you have like and then they pretend that they're directors or the writers of certain things, and then you're like, and then the prosecutor goes and does the speech, and there's going to be the freaking witnesses, actors who play like Khaleesi, like, well, what happened was they didn't pay me enough.
I really needed Starbucks that day, and it's not my fault that the props people didn't remove my Starbucks cup in front of me, and it wound up in the shot.
The craziest thing that is like, okay, as one of the examples, last year I worked in a really big production. Don't want to say more about it. I don't want to get in trouble. But basically, we created a fight choreo which would involve a knife, right? So the main character would have a knife, and would fight this other main character, right? And so they're just fighting, whatever. And then a couple of days before we were supposed to shoot it, they said, no, instead of knife, it's going to be a gun.
Oh, that changes everything.
Duh. And then we literally like, okay, so this whole fancy shit what we created with a knife and how it would be stabbing, whatever. So now it's going to be like with a gun, which you can do.
Yeah, you're literally bringing a gun to a knife.
Yeah, but instead of like, then we played around it, like there was no way to shoot it and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, that's cool.
Which is cool, but at the same time, it's, again, like
it really kind of toned the line of being unrealistic at that
exactly.
point.
The realism just kind of goes out of the window. And for us, we were just like, we end up, again, we just kind of like a pawn in this whole thing, and we do what the big bosses say. So it's not much we can do about it. So, and that's what you say. It leads to some of the reasons why certain things wouldn't go this way or that way, why they would change. There could be so many things involved, like something with the cast, something with the location, something with this, something with that. And they would be like having a schedule, and they're behind schedule. And on Game of Thrones, they would involve so many people working on it and so much money every day, which would they lose? It's like thousands and millions or whatever of money. So it's like, and that's something what comes into play, and you understand more of it if you've been part of the production, And then I almost want to say like, if I'm on the production side, I would say like, yeah, but you guys don't know what's going on in the big kitchen. It's like, it's easy afterwards to say, well, but he was wearing denim jeans in that background scene. There's a famous jean guy in Gladiator, the first one, the original. Yeah,
he was wearing jeans.
No, there was a horse. There was just in the background somewhere like a quick, like a whiz of like the horse guy who was like just making sure that the horses are like standing, whatever. And then he was wearing jeans or whatever. And it's like, but to me, it gives also a little bit of humanity to this, because like we know it's not real. We know that people work on it. We know that there's like crews of people who don't sleep nights properly and all that. It's like as soon as you start kind of thinking about the human factor and like that, this, you look a little bit differently on that shit.
Yeah, and I think I certainly make a difference between production errors and creative errors. If you write a bad script, that's you not being a very good writer. But if you have a guy in the background managing horses and he's wearing jeans, it's like, what are you gonna like? That's
cancel.
Not a choice. Never direct again.
But yeah, you see, the other thing is also like how the writing process works. So when they go meet with producers and whatever, and the writers say like, this is what we have. And then producers or directors is like, listen, no, I don't think I'm going to do this. I don't. So also the question is how much actually freedom writers do have at the end.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. And I haven't really gotten into that. I'm just speaking from the end consumer's sort of perspective. But in the end, it is all about the end product. And so as the end consumer, I don't care who lost sleep over this. And I don't care who was creatively obstructed by corporate hierarchies and politics or whatever. Like, I just like, am I supposed to sit there and be like, oh yeah, I didn't really enjoy that. That was pretty mediocre. And then someone goes in and says, well, there were all these problems standing in the way of a better end product. I'm not going to go, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm enjoying it more now. Yeah. No.
I think that then it has to be much stronger kind of a pushback from the audience to the point where we're like, we're going to boycott, we're not going to watch, we're not going to buy it. And then it's like, so what do we do? Make a better product, But the problem is, and this is like, where does the main mass or the majority go? Because I always make fun of like the music, what we hear nowadays, or it's not even that nowadays, this is like how many years ago, when someone has a song, Ella, 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 and then we were like, yeah, that's a number one on the ratings, amazing, and who votes for it? But the main mass of people enjoy it. So, I would say like Freddie Mercury created way better music, and the lyrics was writing.
But that's why people still listen to Freddie Mercury's music.
True.
To this day.
But then the question is, who is the majority, or who are the people who are listening like these radio bangers, whatever they call them, who are like there for 3 weeks, and then afterwards no one remembers about them. But the truth is, that again, some corporation behind it makes the bigger buck about it. They don't care anymore like the days back in the days were much better music. So they think, how do I make a lot of money right now? Yeah. I don't give a fuck what's going to happen in a couple even months. You know?
I mean, I think that's pretty evident in the culture that's coming out, whether it's this really poorly produced TV series or movies or music. It's kind of the same thing. It's like it's all fast food culture. Yeah.
True.
And I think it's just that so many people are just fine with mediocre. That then if I'm a big producer like HBO or Netflix or whatever, and people are fine with mediocre, then mediocre it is.
Yeah.
You know?
But what do you think? What do you think has to happen so that change?
I actually have a theory that if you just create one thing that is extremely good, like Game of Thrones became the most popular TV series of all time, arguably. And it still is the most engaging TV series in the world every single year since it ended. It still is today. Like it gets the most Google searches. Give it up for Game of Thrones. And I think there's a relatively straightforward answer to why that is. And it's that it's actually fucking got something worth talking about. Like even to this day. You have all these intricate plot lines and all these cool character arcs, and it's all connected somehow. And it's actually kind of worth talking about that and worth watching it back. I mean, yeah, it ended poorly, but even that is like cause for more speculation. How could it have been better? It was so good. It had all this potential, and you enjoy that potential while it's good. But also, even though if it's not realized, you can still discuss how that potential could have been realized. And I think that creates so much engagement. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and she said that, Game of Thrones did come out in a different time. Like this is like 15 years ago now.
I was about to talk about it. Continue.
Yeah, so that's that's like the golden age of television, I like to call it, like between 2009 and 2016, when things were like, they really kind of invested in these thorough, thought out narrative that had a fucking end in sight, that aren't just made to make another season.
Blah, blah, blah. Renars Podcast.